The Journey of John Carpenter's Unmade Creature from the Black Lagoon. Kaiju? Why kaiju history? I mean, how was he going to make him a kaiju? Well, anyway, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein starts streaming soon and is merely the latest adaptation of the modern Prometheus. It's also one of two coming out within the next year when you count The Bride. That has me realizing something I don't think about too often. Who's writing that? Okay. A variety of reasons. Remakes of the classic Universal monsters are more prevalent than anyone cares to admit. Well, I mean, look, Frankenstein and Dracula and werewolf stuff, that gets made quite a bit. So it's not really a new thing. Well, anyway, as much as many of us decry or dislike remakes on principle, the truth is they have been a thing as long as there have been cinema to circulate and proliferate. Well, there's difference. You know, there's classic stories, so you can do your own take or adaptation of it to varying degrees of success. So it's not exactly the same thing as a reboot of popular franchises and whatnot, because the Universal monsters are their specific iterations of those. It's like their Frankenstein is not really the Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Stuff like that. They're Dracula, same thing. So, you know. Anyway, certain stories resonate and get retold through the ages, which is why timeless literature is a common thread in routine adaptations of Frankenstein and Dracula. Everyone and their mother who can amass a budget has tried to duplicate Universal success with those titles, starting with Hammer Films. Yeah, Hammer Films is probably the only one that's kind of like the runner-up to Universal, but they didn't really get to Universal's level of success at the time anyway. However, the constant reinterpretations didn't stop there. As the entire Universal back catalog of creatures has swept up in the fervor over and over, all the way up to today, well, at least except one, officially Universal's quintessential creature, hasn't appeared in a new movie since 1956. Just to put that into perspective, Godzilla was brand new then. Alfred Hitchcock was still at the height of his career, not to mention years away from Psycho. And your parents probably weren't even born yet. Well, mine were. But anyway, yeah, that's a good point. Frankenstein, Dracula, tons of werewolves and movies, even The Mummy. But not the creature from the Black Lagoon, which is their most original character. Yeah. Anyway, still other versions of the Gill Man notwithstanding, Universal's original aquatic terror has not appeared in his own movie since the creature walks among us. As you can imagine, it wasn't for a lack of trying. Over the years, several renowned directors were attached to bring the Gill Man back to the surface. Peter Jackson had a choice between him and Kong, and we all know what he went with. Del Toro circled a creature project too, but he took his ideas to another studio to make The Shape of Water, and that worked out swimmingly for him. However, he and Jackson aren't the only ones to almost have their stamp on Universal's underwater attraction. John Carpenter was close to bringing his version of the monster to life and ashore. And for a minute, his project seemed to have the best chance of happening. Hey, look, it's John Carpenter. It goes back to the 1990s when Carpenter was back in the horror genre's good graces after They Live and Prince of Darkness. He wanted to bring the same level of energy to his creature by upping the gore and deepening the mystery behind its lore and origins. Like Joe Johnston did years later with the Wolfman, Carpenter was going to make the Gill Man a ferocious, animalistic force that showed no remorse to anyone who entered his domain, which would have taken inspiration from H.P. Lovecraft to facilitate his this vision. Carpenter enlisted the special effects wizardry of the inimitable Rick Baker, already a phenomenon in this practical effects world for his work on King Kong and An American Werewolf in London. Baker understood the assignment and set out to give Carpenter and fans a much more grotesque creature than they'd heretofore seen. As existing photos and makeup attest, Baker's design was going to be leaner and look angrier, with antipathy and sorrow in its eyes. There was also less emphasis on the lips. Baker explained his design thusly via Wicked Horror. My designs for the creature were kind of like my designs for Johnson's werewolf, or Wolfman. It was very much based on a love for the original material and trying to stay true to that in a lot of ways. I think we had a creature that was updated, but you could still tell where it came from. So there he is. Yeah, he does look kind of sad. But very much related to the original, yeah. Yeah. All right. Unfortunately, Universal had other ideas, put new tentative directors in place who didn't pan out, and two sides butted heads until Baker decided to split. The last straw was the rejection of his monster design. They were making it part dinosaur, part every fish in the world. It wasn't the Gill Man. Oh, my God. Carpenter's involvement didn't last nearly as long as Baker's. Why is unclear. Well, it's probably this type of crap. But most believe the failure of Memoirs of an Invisible Man, a comedic tale on the James Whale Claude Rains H.G. Wells concept starring Chevy Chase, broke the studio's faith in Carpenter and his ability to deliver. His creature from the Black Lagoon was deep into development, but ultimately never greenlit, without a satisfying explanation. As the man himself would say, what are you going to do? That's true. It's one of the most notorious unmade projects among monster movies and in Carpenter's career, but not the last word on what could have been. Kaiju history is full of these tales. But he's not a kaiju. I mean, don't kaijus have to be giant? Like Godzilla, that's a kaiju. Anyway, a new creature feature is in development. Oh, but with few details, we have to wait and see if it swims or sinks to join the annals of movies we never got to see. Yeah, this looks pretty good. And I mean, if it's just going to be a full-on, and Carpenter can do horror, so that he's an actual full-on monster, I don't know. Probably this one should have happened. But it didn't, and I guess they wanted a dinosaur fish. Because the thing about the creature from the Black Lagoon and the original, that suit holds up to this day. It was a remarkable achievement, and they did that in the 50s. It's the most impressive looking of the Universal monsters, too. And it's their original creation. It's not based on an adaptation of a classic horror story or anything like that. They won't even respect that. So that's sad, but there you go. There you go.